The standard banner and beginner banner is every player's first encounter with the wishing system. It's where you get your first weapons, 4-star characters, and many people even get their first 5-star here. The banner has had many problems since the launch of the game, but over time, these issues keep getting more and more pronounced. So let's talk about what they are, why they're so problematic, how you can do your best to avoid them, and what Hoyoverse can do to fix it. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. But before we get into it, please have a listen to today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is completely free to play with over 80 million downloads across the world. It has incredible console quality graphics available right from your mobile device. There are over 700 champions to collect, many of which are extremely attractive, and some of them look really badass. I've personally really been enjoying the Sorceress the most. She has a really nice design, and she uses these vines to ensnare the enemies. And today, we have our special guest, Death Knight, to tell us about a brand new mode.
Professor Death Knight here with a lesson about Live Arena, the new PvP mode, where you can fight against other players in real time. Sounds terrifying? Well, so's going to the dentist. You should still do it. Live Arena has a draft feature where you can pick and ban champions to fight for you. Teamwork. When you win matches, you'll get Live Arena crests towards unlocking special area bonuses, or so I hear. I'm too afraid to try any of this out.
So, Death Knight, how do you feel about the ability to ban champions in Live Arena?
I hate it. I wish everybody could play. Back in school, I would always get picked last.
How does it feel to win a game in Live Arena?
And the crowd goes wild. Death Knight, Death Knight, Death Knight.
If you go live in Raid Shadow Legends right now, you can get your hands on the Stag Knight, one of the best epic champions around. You can also get a skin for the Stag Knight designed by JonTron using the promo code JTSkin before October 7th. And don't worry, if you're not a new player, you can still get the skin through an in-game event. With all of this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid, I think it's just about time that you gave it a try. New players, you can use my link right down there in the description, or by scanning the QR code in the corner, and you can get this free starter pack that has a value of $30. Thanks again, Raid, for sponsoring the video. Click my link to give it a try now, and we'll see you on the battlefield. The standard banner should be a good way to get staple units for your account. It should be a place where you can pick up your copies of Xingqiu, Favonius Sword, Bennett, and get started on your merry way. For players at launch, this was mostly the case. But over time, there have been so many 4-stars added that it is virtually impossible to get some of the staple ones. In the beginning, when Genshin Impact first launched, the amount of characters on the standard banner in terms of 4-stars was much lower, and so many of the original 4-stars were staple units that could benefit most accounts. It was pretty likely that out of your first batch of 4-stars, you'd pick yourself up a Fischl, a Sucrose, Xingqiu, Bennett, Beidou, or even some standard constellations such as Kaya or Lisa. But now, with so many characters added to the standard pool, your likelihood of receiving a niche character like Goro, Mika, Yunjin, Varuzan, Kaveh is extremely high actually, or a character you can't use until mid to late game, such as Toma, who requires ascension materials from a specific part of Inazuma. Well, it used to be that you could build almost anyone you got from the standard banner and have them be a staple part of your long-term account. New players have to be much pickier about who they build, because if you accidentally build yourself a Kujo Sara and you don't plan on getting Raiden eventually, you might end up wasting valuable resources just because you didn't know better. I don't think the standard banner should be like this. I think that it should give you universal characters that you wouldn't regret building, at least for the most part. There's also the further problem where you used to have a reasonably good chance of getting yourself a constellation of Amber, Lisa, or Kaya who never appear on limited banners, and the only way to get them was through standard. But we have over twice the amount of characters that we did at launch, so you are very unlikely to get constellations for these standard characters if you're looking for them. Now, this is all subjective because you might love the fact that you can randomly get a Lynette or any of the other characters. This could be argued to be a pro for you, and I could definitely appreciate that argument. That is totally fine. But what is for sure not good is how many copies you can get of a single niche unit before you get one of each. I think a great solution would be be that if you have a copy of Faruzan, that your chances of getting another one are decreased until you get at least one copy of every character. And if they don't add this for 4 stars, they absolutely need to add this for 5 stars, because you end up with many people, some people like me, who end up with not 1 or 2 or 3, but 5 constellations or more of a single standard banner character before they even get 1 copy of Mona. And Mona was one of the characters that I wanted the most when I started playing the game. We really need a system that prioritizes characters that you don't have yet, because I know some people who have 4 or 5 copies of Skyward Blade or Skyward Spine and still no copies of Wolf's Gravestone that they really may want for their Diluc. And if they don't add a system like this, perhaps they could add something similar to the epitomized path for the standard banner, where you can make a selection of all the different options of 5 stars that there are and work your way towards them. Even if they made the fate points much larger, maybe you'd have to get 5 or 6 fate points before you get the one you want, at least eventually it would be guaranteed, even if it might take you years. And that is the next problem. We get basically no wishes for this banner. I've done about 10 wishes in the last month, about 30 in the last 2 months, 50 in the last 3 months. It's been 4 months since I've achieved 1 full pity on the standard banner. We now have 17 different items that you can get from the banner. So if you got no duplicates, it would take you almost 6 years to get everything from the standard banner. Of course, you're going to lose some 50/50s on the limited banner, but still, you're probably going to get multiple duplicates. You might play the game for 10 years and never get a copy of the Jadewing Spear for your Zhao, unless of course you were to wish for it on the weapon banner. Honkai Star Rail has actually a really elegant solution to this, and although it's not perfect, it is a lot better. We have a progress bar where after reaching 300 wishes, you can choose any in particular standard character. Now, it could be that multiple characters are avoiding you, so you can't easily still complete your collection. I personally have gotten 2 copies of Welt and 2 copies of Yanqing and none of the other characters, so you can still get unlucky and the system isn't perfect, but it sure is a lot better if there's one in particular that you're gunning for. It can make you feel like you're at least working towards something. Not to mention that, but if you're diligent and you save up your Star Rail Starlight, which is equivalent to Stardust, Star Glitter in Genshin Impact, you can actually get the signature weapons for those standard banner characters. You can save up for example, imagine if you could save up your Star Glitter for Diluc's weapon. That would be incredible. But regardless of whether it is Star Rail or Genshin Impact, they both have another major flaw, and that is how few acquainted fates they give you. There's really no reason they couldn't give out more acquainted fates. Maybe you get them here and there from chests, maybe you get them from events, but the reality is the value of wishing on this banner versus a limited banner is so low that you should never ever use your Primo Gems on the standard banner. And that's a problem because the standard banner costs the same amount of Primo Gems, and so obviously you might just say, oh, we'll just never wish. But it just begs the question, like, why is this banner here if it takes you 6 years to get every character? And even if you do, they're not that insane of characters. It's not like you should go for them for meta reasons, so there's actually an incentive. The other issue is, although we get new standard banner 4-star characters added, we never get any of the new weapons added. Or even if there's a standard banner character, that's standard banner character's signature weapons, which is usually an extremely good weapon, such as Diaz or Tighnari's, they are not added to the standard banner. So that can make it feel even worse. When are we going to get those weapons? If you wanted to get Tighnari's Hunter's Path or Diaz Beacon of the Reed Sea, you don't even have the chance to get them from the standard banner. So I've talked a lot about the problems that the standard banner has, but I would like to point out some really good things as well. A number of the standard banner characters are actually pretty good. Although Dia is pretty memed on for being bad, she's actually not a terrible unit for defensively or even offensively in monopyro teams. Tighnari is actually a really great character, as is Keqing, and Jean and Mona have their uses too, with Diluc being about on the same level as Dia, and Qiqi at least being a reasonable healing character for people in the early game, although she does fall off quite a bit in the late game. In addition to that, the standard banner weapons are actually pretty decent. The Amos bow is good for Ganyu, as well as now for Lyney, so it's getting some more characters that it's good for. It is okay for Tighnari, but actually 3-star 4-star weapons like the slingshot can outpace it, so don't get too baited. But Skyward Harp, Lost Prayer, Skyward Atlas, Jadewing Spear, and Wolf's Gravestone actually have pretty good homes on a number of characters. Skyward Blade and Aquila Favonia are good for Bennett. Skyward Spine is actually great for Raiden or Sangling. Really only the Skyward Pride doesn't quite have a home on anybody currently, which is overall a pretty good spread. Only 2 5-stars that are really truly useless, and a number of them that are actually very good. The other great thing about the standard banner is every other wish you're going to be getting, on average, every other 4-star will be a 4-star weapon instead of a 4-star character. And although there are some stinkers like the Eye of Perception, the Stringless, Favonia, all the Favonius weapons, Dragon's Bane are really universal weapons, and Lion's Roar and Rust, although much more niche, are very powerful on the right characters. In addition to that, the 3-star weapons, although they do appear on the limited banner, some of them are great, like the Slingshot, Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer, Harbinger of Dawn, and even some other ones have some uses as well, such as the Magic Guide or Black Tassel. So as much as the standard banner has some problems, there are some really good things about it as well. You just want to make sure that you never use your Primo Gems on it, and keep requesting to Hoyoverse that they add some sort of epitomized path or a 5-star selector. The other thing I will throw in there is new players don't necessarily know that they shouldn't use their Primo Gems on this banner, and then they can accidentally lose a lot of value and make a mistake by wishing on this banner, because it is a mistake for your account, which, although is not a specific problem, and you could argue it's not that much of a mistake, it is something that I think should be fixed. Let me know how you guys would fix the standard banner if you've ever wished on it with your Primo Gems, and let me know about your horror stories about who you have and haven't gotten. If you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. We just passed 10,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. I am so grateful to all of you guys. If you want to support the channel, please consider checking out Raid Shadow Legends. If you click and download the game, it does really help support the channel. Raid is one of the reasons why I can go full time in this and support my family and provide these videos for you. If you want to support me another way, you can check out my Patreon. If you want to join a great community, you can check out our Discord. And if you don't want to do any of that, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much, and bye for now.